I'm here with Dr. Alex Lingas, who in a few hours is going to be conducting a performance with Cappella Romana here in West Seattle at Holy Rosary Church. And he's going to be, the program is entirely music of Arvo Pärt. And Dr. Lingas, this isn't the first time you've led this group. In fact, you founded the group in 1991. You flew in from Greece a week ago. What's it like when you come back to the Northwest and get a chance to work with Cappella Romana?
Well, it's nice just to be back in my old stomping grounds. I have many friends and also some relatives in the area, but with the ensemble, the singers are many of them friends of long standing, some of whom I sang with in university even. So there's a lot of history with the group.
Now, I mentioned you founded the group in 1991. What was the impetus behind founding Cappella Romana?
Well, the immediate cause was doing a benefit concert for the Greek Cathedral in San Francisco, which had been leveled after the earthquake. And I was actually that year down in San Francisco. I was just newly married. My wife was studying at San Francisco Conservatory. And I found myself as the cantor there, and they were just starting the fundraising programs to rebuild the cathedral. And it was something that as a grad student I couldn't do too much, couldn't give them $1 million or something like this, but I could get a group of my friends together to do a concert.
And you were a grad student at the time. I would imagine it was challenging to start a group from scratch, but also pretty rewarding.
It was challenging, though there was some continuity even there. As the end of my undergraduate years, I had a student early music group, and so a number of the people had sung in that, and with many of the singers who were in that first Cappella concert, I'd also sung regularly with them in other ensembles. So I had the right network of contacts and had done a little bit of putting things together before. And so we put the program together as a kind of one-shot deal. It was a quick historical tour of Orthodox liturgical music, going from early Byzantine chant, then ending up with a little Stravinsky, Rachmaninoff, and I don't think we did any Pärt on that program, though we did do some Tavener.
At what point did you realize that this group was going to have a life beyond this one-off concert in San Francisco?
Well, I ended up moving back the following autumn to Portland, and then we'd all had the impression that it was kind of a good thing. So I was around and I thought, well, why not put on a season? So we put on a short season, and with, again, lots of dedication from all the all involved, all the singers and everyone, it gradually started to grow.
And we were talking earlier about your role with the group as the artistic director, which is a position that you've held even since you left and moved to Europe. Do you miss conducting the group, leading the group on a regular basis? And
well, I conduct them on a regular basis, about as regular as I did even when I was living in Portland, because it was, as a professional ensemble, it's a group that comes together before the individual projects. Now, it has changes the rehearsal schedule a little bit, so that it's even more compact ever since I moved away from Portland. But I moved away from Portland in 1995, so it's been quite a while since I've lived in the Pacific Northwest. So I'm quite used to it now.
But weren't you getting your PhD at the University of British Columbia? So you weren't entirely out of the Northwest, or was that?
No, in 1999.
You had gotten your PhD.
No, I didn't have my PhD, but I was writing it, and I finished writing it. Well, I went in 1990. No, actually, it was before that. I left the Northwest in 1994. Autumn of 1994, because that was when my older daughter was born, and my older daughter was born in Cyprus. Wow. And that was when I left, really, the country. I was back a little bit. I've been in and out of, I've been in other places in the United States since then, but haven't lived in the Pacific Northwest since the late summer of 1994. So it's worked out.
Yeah. And this concert is It's entirely Arvo Pärt, and specifically it's music after Pärt had gone through his Latin phase, after he did Credo. But this isn't the first time the group has sung Arvo Pärt's music. In fact, I understand you guys gave the Northwest premiere of Passio with Paul Hillier came out and was consulting with that. So explain how Cappella Romana how this relationship with Pärt's music has grown and the genesis, and even up to now, where you're going to lead this concert this afternoon, this evening.
Well, I'd come into contact with Pärt's music partially through the recommendation of a friend in the early '90s, just after the very first of the ECM discs came out, and it was music that attracted me immediately, and certainly there were things about his sonic and spiritual world that were compatible with the things also that were my professional interest as a scholar as well. And in the very first season of Cappella, we had a concert where we did a couple of works by Arvo Pärt. We had the De Profundis for four-part male chorus and organ, and actually on three pieces. There was Es sang vor langen Jahren of the Clemens von Brentano poem, and also the Stabat Mater. And actually, the soprano who sang in that is right behind you.
Oh, excellent! What a coincidence!
So we've done bits and pieces through the years, but actually, in the very next year, I'd become acquainted with Paul Hillier through the early music circuit. And when I was living in San Francisco, through the San Francisco Early Music Society, we were both at the San Francisco Early Music Society medieval workshop in the summer one year. I was there as a student, and the next year they brought me back as a faculty member, and I was then around him, and so on and so on. And we had, I hit it off okay, and so he agreed to come up and conduct the Passio. So it was the first time he'd actually done it with a group other than the Hilliard Ensemble at that point.
Excellent. And these, I mentioned this. These pieces are in line with Pärt's exploration of Orthodox settings. Are there any difference? Like, if you were going to take his Latin period and compare the Latin period to what you're going to conduct this afternoon or this evening, are there any differences between the two periods, or is the style roughly the same?
Well, I think the style is roughly the same. He continues to compose things in Latin from time to time. So I think a lot of it just depends on his personal circumstances and the commissions he would get, and his freedom to write things that he might want to write himself as well. So for the very early Latin works, however, are extremely strict. So a piece like the Missa Syllabica, which was one of the very, very first pieces to write, he wrote for voices in this tintinnabuli style, you can definitely see some type of a stylistic progress since then. He's become much more free with the technique. Whereas as opposed to the very early work, you just have the one melodic line plus an arpeggiation, and that's absolutely it. And but of some of the later Latin works, even something like the Passio, the technique isn't all that much different, I would say.
Mm-hmm.